Who should I introduce first? Okay. So, Rukmini Devi, who's taking the stage, was initiated in 1968. She's also the founder of the Urban Devi Collective, the board of directors, who was for the Bhakti Center. Popular speaker who has addressed many different kinds of groups, including many interfaith programs the world over. She provides much guidance for many, many young ladies embarking upon and establishing themselves on the path of bhakti across the planet. And we're very fortunate and blessed to have her here. She's very loving, kind-hearted, beautiful soul, a well-wisher. So we're very grateful to have her here with us, and she's accompanied by her loyal husband, His Grace Anuttama Dasa, who's initiated in 1976, member of the GB. 75?
76.
76. It's hard to remember these things. He's a member of the GBC for over 20 years and was International Communications Director for more years than we can count on our hands and toes. Very involved with the interfaith programs and organizing retreats for devotees all over the world. Also teaching, much teaching, and teaching the Leadership and Management course, which I was fortunate to attend early on. And also very wonderful, kind-hearted, loving soul, and well-wisher. So we're very blessed to have you both here with us this evening. And I'll pass the mic over to you.
As you heard, Rukmini came many years before I did, so I want to make sure she knows lots of wonderful pastime stories. I appreciated that Pancharana started with talking about the 7 purposes, and maybe I'll just mention a little bit that this building, I think, as we said, more and more in the future, and by Krishna's grace, hopefully we can get this in perpetuity. But there people come from all around the world, and sometimes they can't get inside. Maybe they stand outside or whatever. But they, like you said, they just cry whatever then happened. And so many people walk by, they don't know the significance of this. This place is famous all over the world. In Russia, in China, in South America, in Africa, Australasia. It's like 22nd Avenue. Everybody knows this is where Prabhupada started his movement. So it really is a very special historical place. I was actually thinking during Pancharana's remarks, someone across the mind never thought it before, how difficult in one sense it must have been for Prabhupada to leave here and to go to San Francisco. Because here, everybody, because of his presence, there were some commitment to Krishna consciousness. They would come and hear his classes, and he would catch them occasionally down the street. I don't know where it was, but there was a donut store somewhere nearby. He described that early on, Prabhupada would sometimes walk by to look in the window to see if any devotees were in the donut shop.
It wasn't the same donut plant.
No, the donut plant's good. Go to the donut plant, that's good. But they would duck, and Prabhupada would come by. So they really needed his inspiration. So I was just thinking, imagine what it was. Prabhupada had planted the seed of Krishna consciousness here, in this place. It was so hard. And the devotees, as described, they thought he was the Lower East Side Swami, and that was it. He was theirs. And I don't know what they thought about the future. At 20 years old, the future's like a month and a half away. But Prabhupada, as you mentioned, was thinking way in the future. And when he went to San Francisco, there must have been yet again another test for him to see, have they really taken it up? How will they survive if I'm not here? I've got to go, I've got to try to spread it further. But will they be able to continue? And of course, we know they did, and kept things going on here in San Francisco, and then in Montreal, where Rukmini first met Prabhupada, and from there all around the world. So then, I'm sure that at that point he really had seen firsthand that confidence, that the potency, that he had faith in, of course, but to see it actually happen, that these young Americans coming from such atrocious backgrounds, according to Vaishnava culture, but could continue even after he wasn't physically here. And as we all know, it wasn't like you picked up, these days you just send a text, you send a WhatsApp message, you send a video. It wasn't like that. Things, even phone calls were very expensive. There were a few telexes and things which were also expensive. So he was here, and then he went from here to San Francisco. And the one story that I'll just mention, and hope again you give a lot. The manager pointed in Leelamrit to the great source, and I hope everybody here please read that book. many times. It talks about here, and of course, Rukmini Maharaj's book talks about here, and others probably that maybe I haven't read. But the owner at one point in time was Mr. Chuti, Chutey, I believe. And described that Mr. Chuti didn't like the devotees. They were kind of like young, crazy, hippies, former hippies, undependable, whatever. But he liked Prabhupada a lot. And me, Prabhupada probably maybe turned on the extra charm to keep Mr. Chuti happy. And it's described in the Lilamrita. I actually wrote Srila Maharaj and I didn't get a response asking where did that part of the history, who remembered that? Maybe it's recorded someplace. But it's explained that Prabhupada would help Mr. Chuti take out the neighbor's garbage, which just really struck me. Because, we know Prabhupada as the founder of a great international movement, the author of so many books. He came here at such a distinguished age and traveled all around the world. But he was here, and we can just imagine, in those days, nobody really likes to take out the trash. But these days we have plastic bags, right? Everybody puts their trash in the plastic. There were no plastic bags in those days. Trash meant the metal trash can, and everything obnoxious and horrible went in the metal trash can. And the neighbors weren't all vegetarians, we can be sure. And those trash cans in the summer must have been pretty horribly disgusting. And I don't know the details, but Prabhupada, just his nature and his willingness to really seeing himself as the servant of the servant of the servant, understanding how he was establishing this outpost of Krishna consciousness in such a foreign place, and that his relationship with Mr. Chuti was so important that we can't understand what's going on in Prabhupada's mind. But most of us, raise your hand if you've helped take out the trash of the neighbors in this place in the last 40 years. Anybody? Anytime?
I've cleaned up some trash.
He's cleaned up some. It's probably devotee trash. This is the neighbors. It just made me think a little bit more about what a superhuman being he was on top of a great founder Acharya, that he would do something like that. And he came from Vrindavan. These are like horrible, untouchable things. You don't. Higher class people don't touch the garbage of lower class people. Pure vegetarians don't touch anything that was touched like that, meat and all. And again, metal trash cans in those days were horrible. Just as an example of how he would do anything to spread Krishna consciousness and try to, take the role of humble servant and try to be bent over backwards, as we like to say in English, to try to spread Krishna consciousness for us. So just one of the many, many, many stories about Prabhupada, things that he did.
Om Jnana Dasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksinantamani Tasmai Shri Jai Shri Prabhupada. You just reminded me of a story I hadn't thought of in a long time. You were comparing this temple and San Francisco, and so I first came to Krishna consciousness in 1968 in the San Francisco temple, and I came to Montreal to the devotees who were on their way to London to open spread Krishna consciousness in London were going to get Prabhupada's blessings in Montreal. So the famous six and one baby, Mukunda, Janaki, Muna, Gurdas, Malati, and Shamasundar, baby Saraswati. And so, the story I don't want to forget to tell, so you were kind of making this comparison. It was a very different mood here from San Francisco. But so one of the people who came with them and with me was my dear friend Saradia, who she was the same age as me. I was 16, and she was coming, and we were planning to go to Boston to learn to paint for Prabhupada's books. So anyway, she was a very kind of ethereal, but they used to hold a plate with candles on it and just kind of dance like this and maybe circle it around. Anyway, Prabhupada came to 26 Second Avenue, and he was telling me, mostly all brahmacharis or men, whatever, maybe they weren't brahmacharis yet, but he was telling them about her. And he said, there is one young girl in San Francisco. And he went like this, like he was going to faint. And he said, she practically faints in kirtan. So, you know, there was a certain mood there and a certain mood here. But yeah, that's a sweet story. But so, yeah, so I came to Krishna consciousness there and then went to Montreal with them, and then I was here. So then Prabhupada came down here to New York for some time, and we all came here to 26 Second Avenue for some time, and then I was here again in 1960. That was 68. I was here again in 1969. But I remember, I may be wrong, but I think, so our deity of Madan Mohan, who we're worshiping in Potomac, Maryland now, he was here. So the devotees in London always say that Radha Londoneshwar was the first deity in ISKCON. But I think Madan Mohan was first, and unless I'm wrong, I think he was here on this wall, but he was really high. They had him up on a Haribol, welcome. They had him up on a high shelf over here on this side, and but nobody really knew anything about deity worship or deities or how to.
Should we ask everybody to move up? There's a lot of room up at the front
lots of room up here. I was thinking that. So
this is how it was when Prabhupada was here. It was back.
So the devotees knew that they were supposed to close his curtains before everyone would take prasadam in here. So they knew they were supposed to. Haribol Vasudev Prabhu. They knew they were supposed to close his curtains before taking prasadam, but everyone would kind of forget. And so what I remember, one experience I remember is everyone's taking prasadam and kind of look up and, oh, we forgot to close the curtains. And so they kind of lick their fingers and, you know, close the curtains. And that's what I remember. But anyway, he's being worshipped very nicely, very beautifully in Washington, Potomac, Maryland now.
Pujaris don't lick their fingers.
The pujaris don't lick their fingers.
Not anymore.
But let's see, I wanted to share one thing I remember. So at that time there was a women's ashram on 6th Street. And I was staying there for a while, and the neighborhood was so bad. I mean, right now, let's face it, everyone, this area is so gentrified. You have to really be quite well off to afford an apartment around here, right?
Right.
But at that time it was really rough. And this women's ashram on 6th Street, we used to hear the junkies screaming on the roof at night. It was really, really, really a rough neighborhood. So I remember that. And yeah, so let's see. Well, I wanted to share a few stories, but I wanted to share, when should I do this? I wanted to share one story I don't think any of you have ever heard before. I just heard this the other day from my god sister and friend Kalindi, who was married to Rupanuga. And so this story took place in another part of New York, in Buffalo, New York. And I just thought it was really sweet to share it, so I wanted to share it with you. She says, my favorite story is when Srila Prabhupada visited Buffalo in April 1969. Her son, Kendra, was 4. I think there's you mentioned wisdom, that we were going to hear some wisdom tonight, so I think there's a lot of wisdom in this story. So she says, on Prabhupada's last night there, Ekendra and I took our leave. After we left, Ekendra started sobbing uncontrollably because Srila Prabhupada was leaving. I couldn't console him. Although it was late, I took Ekendra back to where Srila Prabhupada was staying. When we got there, I explained the situation to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada then said he would take Ekendra with him. This is Srila Prabhupada. He said he would take Ekendra with him. And Brahmananda, who was serving Prabhupada at that time, he said Brahmananda would take care of him. She says, Brahmananda visibly blanched. He went white. He wasn't prepared to take care of a young child. And then she says, then Srila Prabhupada started chuckling, knowing Brahmananda wasn't up to the task. Meanwhile, Akendra finally stopped crying, Brahmananda hugely relieved that he would not be responsible for Akendra, and we were all smiling and happy. It was such a lovely moment. So you said that we were going to be sharing wisdom tonight. So the wisdom that I take from this story and I wanted to share is that if we cry for Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, then he will take us with him as he travels back to Krishna. And so I think that's really an important lesson. So yeah, I wanted to share that. And I have a couple of poems I wrote that I wanted to share. So this one is called 60 years ago. 60 years ago, he opened his shop, matchless gifts to be given for a farthing of faith. But who had faith? That he would also give. Matchless mercy, mothering us like blind newborns, our eyes tightly shut, as he fed us from his own hand. 60 years ago, he walked among us, so human yet so divine. His reality of another realm always. Tomorrow, we begin again, the first day of the future. And by the way we treat the people there, they will know how much Krishna loves them and how much he loves us. To open his shop 60 years ago. And then here's another one I'd just like to share. This one's called a tiny matchbox. That's what Prabhupada called the Jaladuta freighter ship that he traveled on, that it was being tossed in the waves of the Atlantic like a tiny matchbox. So, taking up Gauranga's order only just to please your guru, you walked the plank of the Jaladuta. Hearing our cries cross an ocean of tears, where is our guru and why are we here? Rocked by the great Atlantic, a tiny matchbox in its vastness, a pure devotee did aspire to please his guru and Sri Gaura. 2 heart attacks and much more to bear. All 10 incarnations were manning the oar. Said the captain's wife, an intelligent woman. Prabhupada said she was an intelligent woman. You'll pass through great obstacles to success of your mission. If the Atlantic had shown its usual face, come with us always, so we will be graced. These days we fly, taking 16 hours, and where are our hearts for all you endured? You lifted us out of an ocean of death, aimless and suffering, with nowhere to rest. And on your head, you carried their order. Now what do we owe for this precious cargo? On our heads to take your burden, plying it forward to all who will listen. A tiny matchbox, your ardent desire. You ferry us to him, and we aspire to spark this flame into our hearts, the light of the Bhagavad that you impart. There's so many stories, but I think you want more stories?
Yes.
More stories? Okay.
Tell us about the previous temple.
Oh yeah, I wanted to share the other temple stories. But wait, there's first one I want to share this one. It's a little bit quirky, but forgive me. But anyway, so 1968, 69, this was the time of the Beatles, right? And when the Beatles would perform, young girls would be shrieking. Like that, you know? And so when I came here, there were some young girls here from New York that were the same age as me. And when Prabhupada would be walking down the street from a walk and coming up Second Avenue, coming down Second Avenue, they would be shrieking like that.
Just like that.
Swamiji, Swamiji, just shrieking, you know? And I mean, I was a little embarrassed, you know? I mean, I was the same age as them, but anyway.
What would you do?
Well, that's what I'm going to tell you. This is so sweet. So, you know, he was tolerating it, right? But then at one point, he brought them into his quarters, the apartment back there, and he told them, "You are the children of the society, so you must be very grave. You must be very grave." And then they stopped doing it. It was very, so tender, you know, so loving, you know. But so the other story I wanted to tell is, so this was in 1969, so they acquired, so I received Gayatri second initiation at 61 Second Avenue, which is now the Gray Mare Tavern.
Right.
Oh, it changed? I was looking for the sign.
Someone else took it over.
Really? Is it what?
Montego or something. Bar
Really?
Montego.
Well, at 60, you can fold your hands when you walk by because that was the second temple after this temple. So, yeah, so what happened? So it had been a tuxedo shop. So it had mirrors on the walls. It was a nicer storefront, but it was a storefront. And so the devotees in charge here were writing. Prabhupada was in Europe for a long time, and they were writing to Prabhupada saying, "Prabhupada, our new temple is like a palace. You're just going to love it. It's a palace." And I was thinking, oh no, what's Prabhupada going to do? Is he going to be angry? Is he going to be disappointed when he comes and he sees it's just another a nicer storefront, but just another storefront on Second Avenue? So I was really apprehensive about what was he going to do. So he came, and this really shows the heart of Srila Prabhupada. So he comes in, he's looking around with his beautiful lotus glance, looking around, you know. And then he sat down on his Vyasa-san, and he said, I prayed to Krishna to send me one moon. I did not want so many stars. I just wanted one moon. You know, get the point. He wasn't looking to create masses of followers. He wanted people who would take it to their hearts seriously. Anyway, so he said, I prayed to Krishna to send me one moon. I did not want so many stars. And then he said, with such gratitude for our little nothing that we were offering, he said, but Krishna has sent me so many moon-like boys and girls. So I think if we're going to try to emulate the mood of Prabhupada, it's a mood of immense gratitude for something so small, you know. So, and I really believe that that's the way to faith and trust and sadhu sangha and all the other processes that we aspire for. So, yeah, I think that's an important story. Time's up. One more story.
One more story.
Okay. Well, okay. Pancharatna Aditaguna Prabhus were speaking about Mayapur, so I'll tell a really sweet Mayapur story that, you know, in general in Prabhupada's pastimes, the ladies would clean Prabhupada's room and then scurry out before he would come back from his walk. And so one morning I was cleaning Prabhupada's room in Mayapur, and just next, so he had a very nice box on his desk that was covered with cloth and kind of nice little, you know, decorative glittering stones, and it had sweets in it, in the box. he would give sweets to his guests when someone would come. He would give a sweet, right? So there was this nice box on his desk, and then on his right next to him on the floor next to his desk, there was this kind of soggy cardboard box from the sweet shop that was had rasgulla juice and kind of a mess, you know. So I thought, okay, I'll take this one down to the kitchen, and they can put these rasgullas and sweets on Prabhupada's plate when they serve him his meal. And then, you know, I cleaned and then left. And so then I got this message that when Prabhupada came back, he wanted to know who had cleaned his room and where are my sweets. Have you heard this one before? Anyway, where are my sweets, right? So they tracked me down. I was in the women's ashram or something, you know. So I came and offer obeisances, and you know, sometimes with Srila Prabhupada, you're offering obeisances, and he's speaking to you while you don't know whether to offer obeisances, and he was in a very grandfatherly, sweet mood, and his eyes were sparkling, and he was saying, "Where are my sweets?" And I said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I brought them down." At that time, his dear godbrother, Anand Maharaj, was cooking for him. And he had cooked for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was a wonderful, humble Vaishnava. Actually, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had given him an instruction to feed all the residents of Vrindavan. And at one time when I was in Vrindavan, after he would make extra chapatis, and then after prasadam, he would break them into little pieces, and I would help him, and for the peacocks and the other animals. And, you know, if the pieces I was breaking were too big, he would go, "Small, small." But anyway, he's a wonderful, saintly Vaishnava. So he was down there cooking. So I said, "Srila Prabhupada, I brought the box that was a little bit of a mess that was on the floor. I brought it down to the kitchen so those sweets could be put on your plate. I gave them to Anand Maharaj." And Srila Prabhupada said, "Oh, you have not eaten any?" And I said, "Oh no, Srila Prabhupada, I didn't eat it." And he said, "Go get them, I want to see." So I had to go down to the kitchen, you know, which is down below, and bring back the box. And Srila Prabhupada was aware of everything. He was aware of everything. I mean, there's a story of Yamuna Devi cleaning Prabhupada's room, and she was paka clean, expert at cleaning. And he opened you know, like a lighter or something, and showed her, you know, he was so impeccably clean, you know. Anyway, so he knew exactly how many sweets were in that box. So he had me go down, I had to bring back the box, and he counted them, and he said, "Yes, you have not eaten any." And he was laughing. It was really beautiful. And there was a room full of, you know, distinguished, I remember Shamsundar was there, but a room full of distinguished Indian gentlemen. There I am. So that was a sweet story.
And